UConn team can cement their place in basketball history, as a team hasn't gone back-to-back since 2007. That was Florida. And you look at this team over the last 2 years, that being the Huskies, in their last 10 games in the NCAA tournament, they are winning by an astonishing average of 23 points. So we ask our next guest, CL, will they repeat? Will they repeat, CL?
Well, you probably don't want to hear this from me because I picked Auburn to beat them in my.
You get a reset. You get the reset. Yeah. You get the reset.
It would be. I mean, out of these four left, I don't see anyone beating UConn. I mean, it would take something special to get over the hump. I kind of felt like just the weight of trying to repeat would kind of undermine them in the earlier rounds, but obviously that hadn't happened, especially when Illinois was playing them tight, and the next thing you know, it's 30-0 run, which that's incredibly hard to do when you're playing the team on the same level, right? So, Hurley's got lightning in a bottle right now. They are just the team in college basketball.
CL, as a columnist, you look at this Final Four, and that's a good story, but is the Zach Edey and DJ Burns a better story?
Oh, I can't wait to see that matchup. I mean, I feel like it is just because, UConn games have almost had foregone conclusions before they start. This is going to be fascinating to me to see. I don't think Edey has played somebody just with the strength and the mass of DJ Burns, and how is this going to play out? Like, will DJ really be able to get into Edey's body and still be able to score over him, or is just the length of Edey going to be too much for DJ Burns? I mean, I can't wait to see that matchup. And DJ Burns is just such a lovable figure, a lovable kid, having fun out there. It's great to see someone like that be in a position, and his team be able to be in a position to have this to be on the big stage of the Final Four.
And then, CL, you've watched NC State the entire year. A lot of us, caught them winning the ACC tournament. Somewhat, you talk about lightning in a bottle, but what are some of the constants that fans are seeing during this tournament that were there during the regular season, or did they just evolve to where they are right now?
Well, the funny thing is they started off 5-1 in ACC play, and it looked like they were going to be one of the top tier teams in the league, and then they just kind of imploded and went on a streak where they lost like 5 out of 7 and just kind of stumbled their way through. And the schedule didn't help them much either. I mean, they lost their Final Four of the regular season, but 2 of those were they had Carolina on a Saturday and had to turn around and play Duke on a Monday. And I can't remember a time ever in the ACC where a team has had to play both Carolina and Duke back-to-back with 1 day of rest. So, they never lost their confidence, which I think is a testament to Kevin Keith as a coach. But they've been pretty sound defensively all year, and I think that's helping them in the tournament. And, the rest of it to me is just confidence. I mean, DJ Horn, their lead point guard, he was injured and didn't play in the Louisville game in the ACC tournament, and they were actually losing to Louisville early on. And everything looked like doomsday. I mean, there was talk even at the ACC tournament that Kevin Keith was going to be fired, especially if they lose that first game to Louisville. And lo and behold, they come back. They get DJ Horn back for the next game, and, the rest, as they say, is history. They're seeing them in Glendale this week.
I'll get into some other aspects of the Final Four, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple of big coaching stories. One, with Andy Enfield leaving USC and going to SMU, and now USC hiring Eric Musselman from Arkansas. Did you see both of those moves coming, or did they catch you a little bit by surprise?
I would say the move Andy Enfield leaving to go to SMU was the more surprising of the two because, and I'm assuming maybe he was just beating the posse and getting out of town before they got him. It does help that the SMU will be playing in the ACC next year, so it will be a little bit more higher of a profile than that program, has been in the past. But Eric Musselman going to USC, I was hearing rumblings that he might be ready to jump. I mean, when the Louisville job was open, that was the name. It never got far. Like, I'm not even sure the athletic director at Louisville talked with Eric Musselman directly. But the rumblings were that he might be, a little bit tired of being in Arkansas and was ready for a move. So the thing about him going to USC, which I think he's proven he can recruit guys there. He'll have high talent there and he'll win there. But the question that I feel like he's going to have to answer is, it seems like he just burns out his welcome at spots after, 4 or 5 years. So is this going to be the short-term fix for USC and he'll give them, 4 or 5 good years and be on to the next? Or is this a place where he can just anchor down? Pardon the phrase. No, it's bear down. I'm sorry, it's bear down.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Bear down.
Yeah, that's it.
Anchor down.
Yeah.
Anchor down is Vanderbilt.
3.
So, yeah, if he can just anchor down at USC and stay there for the long haul.
We're having a great conversation right now. C.L. Brown is our guest on the Wright Toyota guest line. Let me follow up with that then. There was a lot of chatter after Kentucky got bounced in the very first round about John Calipari. That did not happen. Is he finally, in your estimation, on thin ice, or was it just the Kentucky fan base that went crazy because they lost to Oakland in the very first round, a team that most people thought they should have beaten by 30?
Yeah, this isn't a case of just the fringe of Kentucky's fan base, getting things out of losing perspective, just getting things out of whack. This is a case of Kentucky has underperformed for Kentucky standards for the last, really since 2019. Obviously, they don't have the tournament in 2020, but in 2021, they had their worst season arguably in program history, going 9-16 during that, COVID year. In 2022, they lose to St. Peter's, which is arguably the worst NCAA tournament loss in program history, losing to a 15 seed. And then this year, losing to a 14 seed might be the second worst NCAA tournament loss for Kentucky, and in between there, they win one game. So they really hadn't advanced in the NCAA tournament out of the first weekend since 2019. So all of those things kind of piled up. John Calipari hasn't changed his style. College basketball nowadays favors veteran teams, especially being able to work the portal to at least supplement a roster of maybe young, high-end talented freshmen coming in. But he hasn't really done that. He's tried to stick primarily to what he's done in the past, and it's not working. And so, it's the entire there are rumblings among the more measured and moderate, boosters of Kentucky basketball that this isn't working. This is no longer working, and maybe they need to go a different way. Really, I feel like what saved him was his incredible buyout. It was basically around $35 million if they would have fired him this year, and so that at least forced everybody to take a deep breath and think about this thing before they made a move on it. And so, he's obviously coming back now. They really did what I felt like was an unprecedented move for Kentucky, with both the athletic director, Mitch Barnhart, sitting down with John Calipari, and they did, a local TV interview where they just kind of put out everything out there and tried to dispel any myths that they have, a fractured relationship. And so it will be interesting to see moving forward just how he goes. I think there's been a bit of a disconnect between John Calipari and the fan base, because he's really remove himself further from being accessible, which a lot of coaches, once they reach his level do. I mean, at Duke, Coach K used to his only availability used to be post games, with the exception of before they would play Carolina every year. He would do a press conference before those 2 games every year, but that's it. John Calipari is kind of a similar way right now. He doesn't really do local interviews. He'll only do national things. And he outside of his radio show, the only time you really hear his voice is in post-game interviews. And even then, he can cut those short. So, it's something to keep an eye on.
Okay.
Good stuff, CL. Thanks for taking us behind the curtain there. Appreciate it. Hey, keep up the great work. We'll be following you on CL Brown Hoops. It's a great follow if you love college basketball. Thanks, CL. Appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
That's CL Brown joining us, talking some hoops. He covers the ACC, Louisville, Kentucky. So appreciate that. Again, this Saturday we'll be at the Talking Stick Resort showroom for both games, as well as on Monday. We hope that you will join us. But coming up next, Patrick Mahomes, 10 years of prison.